You mean public or charter schools?
All schools, because the money actually comes from everything.
You mean if there's any objection as to the way?
As to the funding,
Well,
yes.
We'll see that in reality, some kids in charter schools, they receive more money than a kid that goes to a public school. There's that disparity. So, and I've encountered those issues. But I don't think that's the issue. The issue is whether you're receiving more or less. That's not the issue. The issue is that you are giving a child the quality education that's needed, and that's lacking. Whether it's in a public or a charter school, we don't have that. We're not providing a quality education to our kids, specifically our kids that are in low wealth neighborhoods, and we've got to change that. That cannot continue to be the same. We've got to bring some changes to that.
I got a question.
Your name?
Bruce is an Allstate insurance agent, I'm the only Hispanic Allstate agency in Pennsylvania. Education, which I would imagine is a dear topic to you as an educator.
As an educator.
So we're talking about this fair funding formula. Two parts are the question. Where is the money coming from? Because there are monies that can be gotten from several places, one in particular, like the pipeline and 3% tax, right? And the other one is, Wolf made a comment last week, this is what we need to do. I can make a comment next week and I can be the man on the totem pole, right?
Right.
But I need someone to push me. And as a state representative that represents the city of Philadelphia, you are in the position to be able to push and try to push and get other people to go with you to try to make him move in those recommendations or ideas that he has. What are you principally doing? What are your thought processes to make that a completion for you in terms of getting him to get there?
Okay, so you know that he wants to put a 5% severance tax to the oil companies. They're currently paying an impact fee of about 2-3%. So that's going to bring them about 8% if that occurs. If we push in the direction of a 5% severance tax, that means approximately is going to be producing about $900 million. Me personally, because as an educator, I will be pushing hard on that front. Let me just tell you a little bit of my exploratory on this issue. I just came back from Chicago. I went and I sat there with a couple senators and a couple state representatives who have the same similar issues in Chicago of a funding formula. They had it in 2007, they have a funding formula, however, they need to revisit that issue. So I am looking at the model that they actually used to get it pushed through the legislature. And coming back from Chicago, I am going to push hard because the model that they're going to be using now to get it revised, that's the model that I think we should be using here in Pennsylvania. It's successful, it's helping, it's really putting and pumping money into the schools that are needed. And on my front, I'm going to be introducing a legislation that it's going to be called the Funding Formula Reform Act. That is something that I am going to be pushing forward and writing that legislation when I go back to Harrisburg, now that I've gotten this information to ensure that we get an adequate funding formula.
How are you going to get other people to get involved along with you? Because I'm one vote, right? Mm-hmm. And my vote counts. Mm-hmm. But we need an accumulation of votes that turns into a voice, that turns into power.
That's right. That's right.
Push.
That's right. So what has been done in Harrisburg is that there's a PA commission, and the PA commission on education, they have actually traveled throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania before I got elected. And so they're actually going to do the deliberations in June as to the actual findings of what the public is basically saying about this funding formula. So not only you have the PA Commission, you have over 400 agencies and entities, public and private, that have been a voice in Harrisburg, a powerful voice on how to do this funding formula. So I think that me coming now in the middle of this is going to places me in a very unique position because the advocacy already has been there. It's just pushing that issue and driving that issue home to Governor Wolf to ensure that we get this funding formula. So I'm really me personally, I'm actually jumping on the bandwagon of the folks that already done the groundwork to get this funding formula. I'm just gonna be pushing that issue forward and ensuring that the other state representative, whether you're Republican or Democrat, they can get on this issue also and understand that we need a funding formula. We cannot continue to run the school district or in the Commonwealth, any district in the Commonwealth, without having an adequate funding formula. So that's where I'm going on that front.
So you're gonna get other people to get involved with you. You're gonna have the wherewithal, 'cause sometimes we lose it a little bit, right? We get knocked down, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So we pick up our riches and we keep on forging ahead, right?
Well, I'll tell you this, you know, when I got sworn in January the 6th. I think the following week, I was in the office of the chairman of education saying, hey, listen, I want to do a coalition, I want to do an advisory committee on education. You know, they told me, no, you can't do that because we already have a PA commission working on this. So yeah, I got knocked down, but you know what? I continue to press forward because this is a personal issue for me. And you know, I represent a district that's extremely poor. 50% of the population is not working. They're on welfare, and this is an issue for me. And whether I stay here 6, 7, 8 years, I want to leave a legacy in the 197th district that we did something constructive and positive for our kids, because that's the future. That is the future, and we have an obligation, and we have a responsibility to invest in that future. And I'm not going to rest until I see that happen.
And I'll just let you know this, you know, I'm passionate about this because
Yes.
growing up, I went to Edison High School when it was all boys, so I may be dating myself here, right? But I got a phenomenal education. The teachers were involved. I'd say the parents were involved. My parents, first generation here, right? But they believed in education and there was that push. So just like you're talking about the education, that other piece about how do we get, and this is, I guess, the hardest question. How do we get the families involved? Man, because without the family, the kids might lose a little.
That's right.
You know, that push, mamita, mi nene, tiene que ir a la escuela, right? You know, how do we get them involved? That's maybe even the tougher question about the formula, about the funding.
Yeah.
Because we might be able to do those things, but now getting those family members involved, that's like, wow, how do you do that?
Yeah. And that's a very hard, challenging
Absolutely
question.
so.
You know, when we're dealing with a district and a community that the foundation is not solid. And education does not begin in the school. It begins in the home.
Rich?
Yeah, you know, Bruce, I think it's a very astute question, but I think what you asked was really a tactical question. And I think if you heard what Leslie said in response to the previous question, she really hit it on the head in terms of, if we make this about a Philadelphia issue, we lose. And I think you lose in Harrisburg. And I think you hear Leslie talking about working with a coalition that is statewide. The funding formula benefits poor rural districts as well. Right, we are disproportionately impacted both positively and negatively by money because we have the largest number of kids and the largest number of them in deep poverty. So we'll benefit from increased funding the way we're hurting more disproportionately now from a decrease in funding, right? But the truth is that the funding formula is fair and even and equally applied across the entire state. So the poor rural communities will benefit just like we do. And that needs to be, that's the tactical answer. How do you get other people involved? This impacts the entire state. It's not just a Philadelphia issue, and Leslie talked about that at the beginning, about those other 67 counties, right, that really matter. And if you can get those folks on board and build a statewide coalition on this issue the way the other states have, I think that's an important tactical approach to how to get people together. On the parental piece, I really don't think it's that hard. Like, I think our children prove to us every day, just like you do with your daughters, that when we set an expectation level, many of our kids meet it because we set it there. And I think if you set an expectation level for parents, my kids go to schools where they expect parents to be involved. And they schedule things. I have one on Saturday night, right, from 6 to 8, which is a fundraising event that's at my daughter's school. And you better believe that she's not going to be the only kid without a dad who showed up to that, right? The school sets an expectation. There are best practices around getting parents involved, not just in social activities, but in after-school programs and activities and during the day school programs and activities. And these programs are out there. They're best practices. Educators like Leslie know about them. And if our schools are evenly applying some of those programs and setting a new expectation for our parents and saying, this is what it means to be a responsible parent in the school district of the city of Philadelphia, I believe that our parents will meet that challenge. If we tell them, set an expectation, create an opportunity, and invite them to be great parents for their kids in that setting, there's no doubt that, I know for a fact that you've gone to literally hundreds of things for your daughters, right? So do I. Parents generally do that if you give them the opportunity. So I think kids want to see their parents there. They want to be engaged. I think parents want to be engaged. I think a part of that is education and getting the word out that we all know that parents that are more involved, their kids get better grades. It's just a fact, right? It's a proven fact. If we can educate people on why it's important, but it's also just about being a decent parent and being engaged, and it'll be better off. Those investments that you make in your children, those precious moments, will carry them for the rest of their lives.
Thank you.
I was at a meeting earlier talking about, there was a report that hasn't been published yet, but they followed a class, I think 2004 to 2014, I believe. That's what the report is fresh. And what they found out is that they started with 9,000 students, or 9,000, I don't know the exact number. But over the years, some of those students, high school students, some of them did not enroll in college at all. Part of them stayed for 2 years and dropped out.